Welcome to the aftermath of sexual trauma. I'm Shantae Dent. Today's episode, pregnant from rape. Statistically, this episode will be for a very small percentage of individuals. Realistically, it's important for everyone. When I discovered that I was pregnant from being sexually violated, I nearly lost my mind because I did not know what I was supposed to do. I wasn't quite sure of what my next step would be, could be, or should be. One thing I did was go online and search. I needed support. I needed answers. I needed to understand. Thankfully, I came across a cassette tape. A cassette tape, I know, right? It was like ancient. But I came across a cassette tape, and it was titled Children of Rape. And I immediately ordered this. I knew whatever the content was, I needed to hear it. And it was a panel discussion of individuals who had become pregnant from rape. What I appreciate about the participants, or the selection of the participants, is you had an array of women who walked out, every route possible. Pregnant from rape, kept their child, raised the child. Pregnant from rape, had an abortion. Pregnant from rape, gave birth and placed the child for adoption. And this is before I could even really wrap my head, around my current situation. I remember hearing a story of a young girl who was pregnant and she wanted to keep the child. Pregnant from being violated sexually and wanted to keep the child. But she was forced to have an abortion. And I remember hearing the pain in her heart, the pain in her voice, the words that she used to describe how traumatizing it was to be forced to make a decision and live with that decision. And it broke my heart because I can only imagine the assumptions that are made. I can only imagine the pressure that is felt. Where you'll have a woman who becomes pregnant from being sexually violated, and she's faced with an array of decisions, an array of emotions, and frankly, the last thing she needs is someone pressuring her or forcing her to make a decision. What I find interesting is each of the panelists who made a decision for themselves, they were content with that decision. I did remember hearing the testimonial of another young lady who gave birth, raised her child, and they have a strong bond, a great relationship. And although I wasn't on that panel, I am the one who falls into the category of the woman who gave birth and chose to place the child for adoption. And I remember my experience being a roller coaster of feedback in terms of the feedback. I remember hearing people support me in ways that were so helpful. And I remember those who didn't support me. I remember statements suggesting an abortion that would be better than placing the child for adoption. I also remember the wise statement that said, no one can make this decision for you. This is something my dad shared with me. And I wanted someone to I wanted someone to tell me, please, someone just tell me what to do, and whatever you say, I'll do it. And that'll just, frankly, help me just to disconnect, disassociate, and just do what I'm told and move on. But the wisdom of my father said, I can tell you what to do. But in the end, the decision needs to come from you. Because number one, if someone tells you what to do and and it all went sour, you may blame that person. And these are decisions that are crucial to your life, and decisions that you'll have to live with for the rest of your life. So my dad, he encouraged me to think it through and not rely on anyone else to give me the answer, but to allow the answer to come from within, to come from my heart. And it did. It came from my heart. But the purpose of this is not to solely focus on my experience. It's to offer encouragement to anyone out there who is pregnant from rape, who has become pregnant from a sexual violation. It is not an easy position to be in, not at all. And every woman is different. I remember having moments where I felt like there was an alien in my body. This was so absurd, and there was a huge disconnect, and it took a while. The moment came, but it took a while for me to acknowledge that there was a baby developing inside of my body. And it took a while to embrace that child. But every woman is different. Everyone has a different mindset, different thought process, different beliefs. And I would encourage, number one, if you're in the support circle of someone who is pregnant from being sexually violated, support that individual. Let them know that regardless of what decision they make, you will be there for them. You may not agree with their decision. Keep in mind, your role is to offer support, love, and encouragement. Keep in mind, she's the one who's going to have to walk it out and live it out. There were times where I would see pictures. I am involved in an open adoption, so we communicate, we're connected. And I remember early on when this child's features began to resemble the individual who sexually violated me. And at that time, I felt disturbed and angry, and it was a difficult situation because I didn't want to, for the lack of a better term, be mean, but I knew I had to execute self-care. And I lovingly just shared my heart, saying, I'm not able to look at pictures right now. Let's take a break from the pictures because it's a bit much for me. It's overwhelming right now. And I took a break from receiving pictures, and when I was ready, I had another conversation, and we resumed with the pictures. My point is, it's important to be realistic about where we are mentally and emotionally. It is extremely important to, the term we always use, execute and apply self-care. Otherwise, we go down a ditch. We go on this path that is unhealthy emotionally and mentally, and sometimes even physically, because of what other people say or because of what other people think. And to this day, I am so grateful that I followed my heart. I'm grateful that I did what I felt I needed to do for the child, for me. And here's another little tidbit on the whole adoption process. I follow various adoption forums, and there is a huge movement, and understandably so. They're against adoption. There's no way we can understand or fathom how could this mom give birth and then give her child away. It's difficult for people to fathom that. Even some birth moms share the same viewpoint. And I just want to say that I truly believe that when you make this decision from your heart, you won't have a regret. It is okay to be sad. I wrote in my book that I didn't realize how I could do something that I knew was in my heart to do and still feel sad about it. And that's fine. How, in some ways, yes, how could you not? You have this child in your womb for so many months, there will be a bond. And I also believe that when you make this decision from your heart and when there's love involved in your decision, there won't be any regrets, only love. So for the woman who has become pregnant from a sexual violation, again, I encourage you to make a decision that comes from your heart. And for the individual, especially a young girl who may be forced to make a decision outside of the desire of her heart, my prayer is that you would find comfort and peace regarding the situations that you cannot control. I am sorry if you are being forced to make a decision that you are not comfortable with. And I pray that somehow you will find the peace and the comfort to take one step and another step in terms of living your life to the best of your ability, in spite of the things that are beyond your control. If you are an individual who you're a guardian, a parent, someone supporting a lady who's been assaulted and has become pregnant again, I encourage you to be patient with her, to support her, even if you don't necessarily agree with her decisions. She needs your love, your compassion, and your empathy.